Justice now! We demand change!
So I guess one of the darker predictions of yours is that we are now well on our way to World War III. I just wanted to ask why this is. What are you looking at? Is this possible triggers? Do you look at the chain reactions? Because, well, as we saw from the previous two world wars, one thing tends to lead to another, and one gets sucked in, and there doesn't seem to be a reverse button at any point. So what is it that you're assessing?
Okay, so my first piece of evidence is the American National Security Strategy, which was just published 1 or 2 weeks ago. And it's very clear in that America, maybe 4 years ago, saw the world as possibly being organized and coordinated by multilateral organizations. What's important was for America to be the enforcer or the police officer to ensure that people abide by the rules-based international order. And in this document, Trump is very clear. This order has dissipated, it's gone. And so now that the only thing that matters is now national self-interest. So America needs to protect its own national self-interest. And that primarily means protecting the Western Hemisphere, what they call the Monroe Doctrine. There's something called a Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, which is to say that Trump will want to enforce the Monroe Doctrine. America believes that Russia and China have been encroaching too deeply into South America, especially China, which has a lot of trade investment agreements with South America to the benefit of the people there. But America has always believed that South America is American territory. And so now it will protect its territory. And that's why we are seeing the escalation in Venezuela. We're seeing 10% of America's naval assets consolidate in the Caribbean. And recently, there's been escalation. American forces have basically stolen a Venezuela oil tanker and diverted it to Houston, Texas. So America, by enforcing the Monroe Doctrine, this means that America will now come into conflict with the entirety of South America, because when America is now threatening Venezuela, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, they all see their sovereignty being infringed upon. So that's one piece of evidence. The second piece of evidence is, of course, what's happening between Russia and Ukraine. This war between Russia and Ukraine is essentially over. Russia is dominating the battlefield. The morale in Ukraine has collapsed. There's about 100,000 Ukrainian soldiers who have deserted. There are millions who have fled abroad. So Ukraine doesn't have the manpower, nor the resources, nor the willpower to continue this fight. At the same time, the Europeans insist that the Ukrainians continue to fight. So there's talk among the Europeans of confiscating, stealing those 210 billion euros that it has from Russian assets and giving it directly to Ukraine, it's given up this idea because they understand it's suicidal, and so now they're about to give Ukraine 100 billion euros in loans and interest-free loans to continue this war. And the reason why is that Europe needs to enter this war at some point, and it's afraid that if there's a peace treaty, then Russia will be able to consolidate its gains and then use Ukrainian resources to challenge European supremacy. So that's the second major front. Then, of course, what we're seeing in the Middle East is a continuing escalation between Israel and Iran. So there was a peace treaty signed between Israel and different parties, Hamas, Hezbollah. It seems as though Israel has no respect for these treaties. It seems as though that Israel is planning to attack Hezbollah in Lebanon in the next 2 weeks. The Hamas peace treaty will not hold because Hamas will not agree to give up all its arms, because if it does so, then it will be wiped out by these Israeli proxies. So the Middle East will only flare up. You know, there was this shooting in America of this nuclear physicist, and then there was this tragedy on Bonny Beach in Sydney in Australia where 16 people died, and Israel is pinning the blame on Iran with absolutely no evidence. There are these Mossad officers who've flown to Australia to participate in the investigation, and we can suspect that they will blame Iran in some way for what has happened. So all around the world, we're seeing the potential for massive flare-ups in 2026.
Well, it seems like one of the major things which are changing, which you suggested as well, is the change of the entire world order, though. But usually a new world order would only consolidate itself after a world war. That is, if you have massive distribution of power, there's often little ability of the international system to reform itself. Usually we need a big war, and then a new status quo can be cemented in agreements. But this is such a critical time, it seems, because the whole world order after the Cold War, again, has been based on hegemony, dominance. And now, of course, that distribution of power is gone. It is a multipolar distribution of power. So it's very or near impossible to transition peacefully, though, because the old war, which was based on US primacy, now needs to find a whole new system on a balance of power. I mean, this changes absolutely everything. The rules of the games change, as you suggested. Why the USS, now China and Russia can't be in its backyard, but the US, of course, can still be in the backyard of Russia and China. So there's no acceptable rules. The institutions will change. The security, should it still be based only on deterrence and dominance? If there's now many centers of power, it doesn't really make sense. How diplomacy is conducted. I just feel like this is very difficult topics, but no one seems willing to accept the reality or even discuss it. I mean, here in Europe, the overall sentiment or narrative is that all was well and peaceful, freedom and democracy was just spreading, and then evil showed up, and usually it has to be personified by Putin or a Xi Jinping, and it has to be confronted, must be destroyed, and then peace somehow can return. I mean, this is a very childish way of saying that they want hegemony back. And I guess I say childish because there's no strategy in terms of what they want to achieve, how they can achieve it, means that's required. It's just this emotional outburst and slogans about what is unjust. And as our hegemony was so virtuous, everyone was benefiting. But you see, this is a problem, the inability of our actual political leaders to address the critical time we're at, and why we need to essentially find a new status quo, or is it the inability to let go of hegemon? Is it just that the rules are changing? I mean, how can we explain this?
Yeah, I completely agree with your assessment. Before this idea of the liberal rules-based natural order, it's basically these Western nations bullying, exploiting, and colonizing the rest of the world. So for 20 years, NATO was expanding into Russian sphere of influence. And for 20 years, Putin has been warning NATO, you have to stop, otherwise we have to react, we have to protect our sovereignty. And NATO refused to listen. NATO was extremely arrogant, and that forces Putin's hand. Then China, for the longest time, was the basically the factory to the world. And China agreed to produce really cheap products to the world, which increased people's standard of living. And that made Western consumers really happy. But then came the 2009 financial crisis, when basically because of circulation, because of stupid policymaking, because of greed, the Western economy collapsed. And so what happened was that the Western central banks demand that China invest in infrastructure. And so for the next 10 years, China was digging itself into a hole with all this infrastructure spending. And eventually China decided we don't have enough resources to continue all this spending on infrastructure. And now the American economy has collapsed because the American consumers have maxed out their credit cards. The American consumers have been exploited for the past few decades, and they can no longer afford to spend any more money. So now what America demands is that Chinese consumers start spending money. Chinese consumers start maxing out their credit cards, and that China liberalize its financial markets. And China says, we will not surrender our sovereignty. And so China's being bullied by America. Under the first Trump administration, they started to levy all these tariffs on China. And it's continued under the Trump administration. And America insisted on all these bullying tactics, for example, denying China access to technology, to markets. A few years ago, the Huawei executive, Meng Wanzhou, she was arrested transiting in Vancouver, and she was put under detention for a number of years until she was finally let go. So for the longest time, America and its allies were able to bully the world. And over time, Russia and China have stood up, and Europe and America don't like that. And that's the world we live in today.
Justice now! We demand change!
For decades, it was science fiction, a perfect shield to protect a nation, a weapon that stops another weapon by hitting it at 20,000 miles per hour. The order came from President, we will build a great, beautiful, state-of-the-art missile defense shield, and it will be built in America.
But how do you build it? How do you build a shield the size of a continent?
With $175 billion, the goal, a multi-layered shield against the deadliest weapons on Earth.
The design is a two-part system. The eyes on the ground and the shield in the sky, both built at once.
Part 1. The ground-based defense, expanding our eyes and our interceptors in the frozen north. Part 2. The shield in the sky, a 1,000-satellite Starshield constellation, built and launched by SpaceX.
Two colossal projects, one on the ground, one in space. A brutal timeline with zero margin for error.
The work begins here at Fort Greely, Alaska, one of the most unforgiving construction sites on Earth. The first challenge, understanding the ground itself, a frozen, shifting foundation of permafrost. The groundbreaking isn't a shovel, it's a drill, boring deep to reach the stable bedrock below. But while the ground team battles the ice, another army works under the Texas sun. This is the heart of the shield in the sky, a factory built to mass-produce satellites.
To build 1,000 satellites, you can't use old methods. SpaceX is applying automotive production principles to the final frontier.
Two teams, two worlds, one single monumental goal, to build the Golden Dome. In Alaska, they prepare the ground for the interceptors, 60 new silos for the guardians of the shield. And in California, They build the rockets that will carry the shield to the heavens. The ground war begins here, at Fort Greely, Alaska, the frozen front line of the Golden Dome. To build on permafrost, you must first defeat it, drilling 30 meters down to solid bedrock.
The foundations use thermal piles. They actively chill the ground, ensuring the heat from the radar station doesn't melt the permafrost it stands on.
A skeleton of steel descending into the earth, the backbone of the new radar tower. Pouring concrete in the Arctic is a race against time, a special heated mix poured before it freezes solid. And from the ice, a new eye begins to grow, a massive concrete pedestal for a new generation of radar. The effort is global. In Greenland, another team builds another eye, expanding the shield's view. The heart of the radar, a 50-ton panel containing thousands of transmit-receive modules. A perfect fit. The eye is placed into the skull. The ground station is almost complete. But not all eyes are on land. A new kind of beast is created, a mobile sea-based radar platform. And its eye, a massive X-band radar, protected by a 30-meter-wide inflatable dome.
The sea-based radar gives the shield flexibility. It can be moved anywhere to watch for threats from any direction.
But the eyes are useless without the fist, and here, in another part of Alaska, the fist is being forged. Drilling the silos, each one a 30-meter-deep, 5-meter-wide shaft for a single ground-based interceptor. Each hole is then lined with a reinforced steel and concrete sleeve, protecting the missile inside. A field of 60 new silos turning a patch of frozen tundra into a fortress.
The silo is just a hole. The real engineering is the launch mechanism, designed to eject a 20-ton rocket in seconds.
The complex machinery is installed, a powerful, violent heart for each concrete and steel home. And finally, the door, a 100-ton gate designed to be blown open by explosives before launch. An eye this powerful needs a massive amount of energy, enough to power a small city. And deep beneath the ice, a brain, the control center where soldiers will command this billion-dollar eye. First light, the radar is activated, its systems flooding the network with diagnostic data. The eye turns, focusing its gaze on the Arctic sky. It is now awake and watching. Meanwhile, the mobile eye is deployed, a floating radar station heading for its patrol zone in the Pacific.
The platform is semi-submersible. In rough seas, it lowers itself for stability, keeping this massive radar perfectly steady.
With the silos complete, the interceptors arrive, the sharp end of the spear. Each interceptor, a 20-ton, 3-stage rocket, designed to climb out of the atmosphere in minutes. A delicate process, lowering a multi-million-dollar rocket into its 30-meter deep concrete home. The connection is made. The interceptor is now fully integrated with the silo's launch system. It is armed. And the Guardian is put to sleep, waiting for a command it hopes will never come. The fist is clenched. 60 Guardians, sleeping beneath the ice, ready to strike on command. The final step on the ground, system integration. The eyes are now connected to the fist. The construction on the ground is complete. The eyes are open. The fist is ready. The ground network is online, but it's only half the story. Now, we have to build the shield in the sky. Beneath the silos, a hardened command center, the brain that will control the intercept. A vital link, connecting the ground stations to the satellite shield that is about to be born.
The entire system has a redundant backup. If one system fails, the other takes over instantly. There is no room for downtime.
And its own heartbeat, a dedicated power plant, ensuring the shield can function even if all other power is lost. From Greenland, another eye keeps its silent watch, providing critical early warning data from a different angle.
Having two primary sights is key. What one radar can't see, the other can, eliminating any potential blind spots.
And at sea, the mobile eye patrols, a silent, lonely guardian, riding out the storm in the vast expanse of the ocean. The new silos are built larger, ready for the next generation of faster, more capable interceptors. Every component is relentlessly tested, a full-scale launch, proving the rocket can reach its target zone in space. And the kill vehicle is put to the test, tracking its target at a combined closing speed of over 25,000 miles per hour. A direct hit, a successful test, proving the hit-to-kill technology is reliable and lethal.
With the ground system in place, the focus shifts. Now, we must build the second and most complex layer of the shield.
The mission, to build a web of protection in the heavens. A task given to one company, SpaceX. The tool, the Falcon 9, the most reliable and advanced orbital rocket in the world. The ground stations can see the threat, but the shield itself must be forged in orbit.
While Alaska built the eyes, the heart of the shield was forged here, under the Texas sun at the SpaceX starbase. The mission, build 1,000 advanced satellites, a feat of manufacturing never before attempted in the history of spaceflight.
To build a shield in the sky, you can't build satellites one at a time. You need an assembly line.
It begins in the clean room where the satellite's eyes are born. Infrared sensors, sensitive enough to detect a missile launch from orbit. The skeleton of the satellite, the bus, is assembled by robots, a process designed for speed and perfect, repeatable precision. Each satellite, a maze of kilometers of wiring, a complex nervous system connecting the brain to the sensors.
The secret is standardization, using modular, mass-produced components, just like an automotive assembly line. It's a revolution.
The wings of the satellite, massive solar arrays designed to power the shield's eyes for over a decade in the harsh environment of space. Each wing folded with origami-like precision, ready to be unfurled once it reaches orbit. And its own engine, a hyper-efficient krypton ion thruster, allowing each satellite to maneuver and hold its precise position.
This mobility is key. The constellation can actively heal itself, ensuring there are no holes in the shield.
A river of satellites, moving from bare frame to finished product, a new one rolling off the line every single day. Each satellite is then put through hell, shaken violently to prove it can survive the brutal journey to space. Then baked and frozen in a vacuum, simulating the extreme temperature swings of orbit. The result? A new generation of satellite, powerful, resilient, and ready for the shield. They are not loaded one by one. They are stacked like plates, ready to be deployed in orbit.
The flat, compact design is a key innovation. It allows dozens of satellites to be packed into a single rocket.
The satellites are sealed within the payload fairing, their last moments on Earth before their journey to the heavens. The payload is delivered. The first nodes of the shield are now ready to join the sky. And on the ground, the factory never stops, building the hundreds of satellites that will follow. But the satellites are only half of the equation. The other half, the fist, is built here. The exo-atmospheric kill vehicle. Not an explosive warhead, but a kinetic weapon, a spacefaring bullet. Its eye, a sophisticated sensor capable of distinguishing a real warhead from decoys in the cold of space. Its brain, a radiation-hardened computer plotting an intercept course in milliseconds. And its muscles, small, powerful thrusters making precise last-second adjustments.
The concept is hit to kill. The kinetic energy of the collision, at 10 kilometers per second, vaporizes the target.
Unlike the satellites, each kill vehicle is a hand-built machine, assembled with the precision of a Swiss watch. The fist meets the arm. The kill vehicle is mated with its booster rocket, creating a complete interceptor. The Guardian is born, a 20-ton rocket topped with a 60-kilogram kinetic weapon. Each interceptor is then carefully flown thousands of miles back to the frozen front line in Alaska.
The logistics are staggering, building components in different states, then bringing them all together in one of the most remote places on Earth.
The interceptor arrives at its new home, ready to be placed on alert. A delicate process, lowering the armed Guardian into its 30-meter deep concrete home. The first of the new silos is armed and active. The ground shield is now stronger. But on the ground, the factory never stops, because the true strength of the shield is in numbers. With the satellites built, the mission shifts here, to Cape Canaveral, Florida, the historic gateway to the heavens. A new rocket for a new mission, a reusable Falcon 9 carrying the first nodes of the Golden Dome. Before launch, the network is tested, ensuring every satellite can talk to its neighbors, creating the mesh. This is the backbone of the shield, a network of light passing data around the globe at the speed of light. That data is fed back to the ground, giving the interceptors the precise targeting they need.
This is the ultimate challenge. Not just building the pieces, but making them talk to each other in a seamless dance.
With manufacturing complete and software validated, the final hurdle is the launch itself. The rocket is fueled, a controlled bomb, ready to unleash its power. Waiting for the precise moment in time, a launch window calculated to place the satellites in the perfect orbital plane. The final command is given. The ignition sequence starts. Main engine start. The power of a small nation unleashed. And liftoff. The first nodes of the Golden Dome have left the Earth. A new shield, forged in fire and steel, begins its ascent to the heavens.
The battle for space is no longer won by craftsmen. It's won by factories. This is the next generation of manufacturing.
The manufacturing is complete. Now, the deployment begins. The rocket climbs, pushing through the atmosphere, accelerating to 17,500 miles per hour. The first stage has done its job. Its fuel is spent. Stage separation confirmed. The second stage now continues its journey to orbit. But its journey isn't over. The first stage begins its burn, preparing to return to Earth. Fairing separation confirmed. The satellites are now exposed to the void.
This is the key to affordability. Reusability. This booster will fly again in a matter of weeks.
A perfect landing. A 15-story rocket landing on a drone ship in the ocean. Second engine cutoff. The payload has reached its initial parking orbit. The dispenser comes to life, preparing to release the satellites. And deployment begins. A string of pearls cast across the heavens. Launch after launch, the shield is woven. A net of satellites slowly encircling the globe. Once in orbit, each satellite wakes up, unfurling its solar wings to draw power from the sun. Finding the sun, the satellite is now alive and self-sufficient. And then they talk, establishing the first links in the laser communication network. Then begins the long journey. Each satellite uses its own ion thruster to slowly raise its orbit to its final operational altitude. A process that takes over 6 months, a slow, hyper-efficient climb to their final post. And then it is complete. 1,000 eyes in the sky, connected by a web of light. The shield is online. Launches from California create the polar orbits, covering the North and South poles, while launches from Florida create the inclined orbits, covering the populated middle latitudes. A two-coast launch campaign, working in concert to weave the net. And with its job done, the second stage deorbits, leaving no debris in space.
The system is designed to be sustainable. At the end of its life, each satellite will use its thruster to deorbit itself.
Each satellite, a silent guardian, circling the globe every 90 minutes. A seamless handoff. The network provides continuous, uninterrupted tracking of any object, anywhere on Earth. And the shield in the sky speaks to the eyes on the ground, creating a single unified picture of the battle space. The key to deployment is launch cadence, a relentless pace of launches week after week, month after month. 1,000 satellites, a network so vast and resilient, it changes the very nature of defense. And with every launch, the booster returns, ready to fly again. The key to an affordable shield. A fleet of reusable rockets, the workhorses of the satellite deployment campaign. And then, after 2 years of relentless launches, the final mission. The last nodes take their place. The web is complete.
The future is coming right here, and it was just a conceptual idea. Subscribe to Next Gen Manufacturing.
Justice now! We demand change! gotta get low. Lean, there you go. Land it.
Claim my hat. När jag får det, när folk blir tri tycker jag.
Keep away from the landing zone for the other guy, because the snowmobile are rolling a lot.
Okay. Easily. Justice now! We demand change! With my head! With my head!